Hello and welcome to the third episode of the Great British Design Podcast. Hello, welcome back. This is our third episode of the Design Podcast. I hope everyone is well, and as per usual, we're just going to start with our brief introductions, what we've been doing each week. So, Andy, as you went last time.
Last time.
What have you been doing this week? What have you been up to?
I've made another YouTube video. Literally put it out today as we're recording it, but probably a week or so ago since when we put it out. So it's just helping maybe some new designers with what products to sketch with. So I've gone through ones that I like to use, ones that you guys like to use, and ones that just Instagram designers use. So we got just pens, pencils, and markers, and just when to use them really. So that was the main one. So been dabbling in that. And speaking of dabbling,
I enjoyed that video actually. It was really good.
Yeah, we both saw it today, and you didn't tell us you uploaded it, but we saw it.
No, I didn't. No, I've been very busy today.
I was on the toilet, ready for my crypt video, and there it was.
And there was an upgrade on the crypt video.
That's so
Too
much.
right.
That's a better 10 minutes. Andy's video, I think.
Yeah, you fans?
Yeah, no,
I
really good.
really enjoyed it.
Good information. Yeah.
And I've managed to acquire a proper camera from somewhere. So, from my mum. So I got a decent thumbnail picture as well. I was a fan.
Yes, that's good. Another hobby you can now pick up.
And now a hobby, yeah.
Get into, yeah. Finally, I've been trying for years to get you into photography.
So that's the other thing that I've been up to, is just learning how to use cameras.
It's good.
So
it is a learning curve.
That's kind of taken up some of my project time, learning how to use a camera. But no, it's
Whack it on the auto.
It's really fun.
That's what I do.
I mean, that works, but not in every situation.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But then I don't know that because I don't know what I'm looking for.
True. That's where the learning curve comes in. Okay.
Exactly.
That's it. Not just whacking out the auto option for everything. Because I watched a tutorial, and then the woman that was doing it was like, "Oh, you don't want to put it in fully manual mode," and I was like, I mean, I don't need to watch a
Click
tutorial
off.
of how to put it in auto. That's just like, come on.
Point and shoot, innit?
Yeah. Anyway, I'm learning that. So what have you guys been up to?
Go on, Nick.
It's been quite a busy week for me actually. Mainly just client work. I can't say I've done anything too exciting apart from client work. I've been stuck on a CAD problem which I've solved now.
Ooh.
And it's always satisfying when you actually design something well, that when you want to tweak something you go back, you make a change and nothing breaks. Oh.
Incredible.
So
it's a thing of dreams
yeah.
from uni.
So
Never
good,
happened.
So good. Yeah, it never does happen. You just have to remodel it usually.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been I've just been really busy with client work. Potentially 2 new clients as well, which has been quite exciting. And I have a really cool client meeting on Wednesday. So,
Nice.
and I've just been 3D printing, trying to optimize my 3D printer.
How
Benchy.
have they been going?
I think it went okay. I was
Do you
going to
have
print
it to hand?
I do. Here we go. My little Benchy.
Perfect.
It took ages to get all the infill out of that like boat section of the this bit
The
here.
cabin bit, yeah.
The cabin, yeah. Took me ages. Oh my god! I sat in the kitchen to say like, is this right? This doesn't feel right. And I was just kind of like tearing away at the plastic, and I mean it's okay. The finish is all right. There's some like damage on the arch and that, but generally I was quite happy with it. Definitely an improvement. And gonna do a few more prints this week. Probably gonna try lowering the temperature and to see what happens. It might fail. I'm not sure, but at least I'm gonna have like a clear documentation of what works with what temperature. So that's kind of the plan. Mm-hmm. And I've been trying to organise my Twitch a little bit yesterday.
Nice.
Because I feel like a good goal for everything is to try and improve everything every time you do it. So, and I feel like I've not really been trying to improve my Twitch. I've just been doing it. So I'm trying to make a good plan for Twitch, and I mean that's about it really. So
I like
So
that
what would you
plan.
say
Doing
you really do on Twitch? Because I know you've spoken about this. podcast.
well, I'm the most inconsistent Twitch streamer. And usually it's just because I say, okay, I'm going to start streaming at 7, and then I've got work to do and I haven't quite finished it, so I have to compromise and obviously pick client work over Twitch streaming. But I play games. I mean, I've started streaming Autodesk Sketchbook recently, which has been quite fun, and trying to get better with my drawing tablet, and that's an uphill battle for sure. Because it's one of those ones where it doesn't have a screen on, so you're kind of staring at your computer screen while you're sketching on the tablet. So you kind of know where the line wants to go. Like, oh, I want the line to go here. This is so simple when you draw on paper, but suddenly as soon as you're using this tablet, it's so hard. So
Yeah.
trying to get better with that, and I think the idea would be to do some like mini Twitch projects with like the community, and with the community I mean you guys. So so
I like that plan.
yeah, maybe give like the community some choices of what we're gonna sketch and try and come up with some new ideas, design something new, take it into CAD, maybe do some renders and then 3D print it. That's kind of what I'm thinking. and just playing games. Like we played Counter-Strike on Sunday yesterday, so that was good
Struggled through.
fun. Struggled through. There's some hackers,
Waded
but
through all the Russians. Yeah.
yeah, we
Jumped on
but
Harry's back.
even with a hacker, we did okay. We almost won until we got an AFK guy. So.
Yeah.
But
Good old Counter-Strike.
yeah, I mean, it's been good. I just think that my Twitch stream is a bit plain, and I need to maybe add some overlays and
Or
try and improve the transitions and stuff like that. So
I've
that's what
made
I'm
more of
doing
those
going
than I've
forward.
streamed. I love sorting out stuff
Yeah.
like that.
yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I mean, I was tempted just to go on to like the Streamlabs and use the ones that they have available, but I haven't seen. I mean, there's loads out there, so I just need
Oh
to. take a
yeah,
look,
yeah. You
but
could just
that's
make,
kind of the plan.
make them
so-
yourself.
Yeah, I
Photoshop,
could do.
Photoshop job. That's what I
Yeah.
did.
Mm. Yeah, so
Cool
that's kind of
graphic
the plan.
design, graphic design project for you.
Yeah.
yeah, it would be a cool project. Could be
Making-
good to do on Twitch as well.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, yeah. You could literally stream yourself doing it. It's all about just branding, just making
Yeah.
everything link in together, and it's a pretty cool graphic design project actually. Maybe that could be your first one.
It could do, could be.
Mhm.
Because I feel like I'm streaming in the art category at the moment, and I feel like it's so niche that I'm probably going to get more followers once I get half decent at drawing on the tablet.
Mhm.
So I think if I stream on like WoW or Counter Strike or these big games, it's already really saturated, and it's quite hard to figure out what content I want to do from that. And ideally I want to make YouTube content from the Twitch stream, so I'm like super efficient. Just go like stream it in such a way that it's like a YouTube video almost, so I can just clip it and put it on YouTube. But I just don't know. Obviously, I'm not good at Counter Strike. I'm not good at WoW, and I'm not good at drawing on Sketchbook Pro. So it's not the most engaging content right now. But ideally, I'd like an overhead camera and just draw on like paper and use my markers and stuff. But I haven't got that set up just yet, and I think I've got the tablet. I would like to make use of it and try and get better with it. So
No, definitely.
sure.
Definitely.
yeah. So yeah, I mean that's been my week. What about you, Harry?
Nice. I haven't done a lot this week again.
Oh.
It's been 2 unproductive weeks.
Procrastination boy over here.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But that's alright. You
No, you
have
can't,
followed off
you
weeks.
can't go
that's
wrong
fine.
with a bit of procrastination.
Have you
I've
been
been doing
listening
other
to your
stuff.
audiobook?
Yeah, I've done a lot of walks this week, to be honest. It's been cold and quite nice, so. But the design stuff I have been doing, actually, is the stuff I mentioned last week that I was designing the mould for a plant pot. I finished that model, made some changes to that, and then I started to try and print it, and I've had some problems 3D printing this
no.
week. But the problem is, there's a lot of problems. So, and I don't really
Brilliant.
know what bit is going wrong. because I'm using PUTG plastic, so it's all different settings to what PLA would normally be. So I've been playing around with the settings and it fails, and I don't know if it's that. But then also, I've had a few first layer problems, and I actually think after trying a lot of different settings that should work,
Okay.
I think my print bed may have warped slightly. So I'll need to go to IKEA again and get some more mirrors, as I've run out of small
what a place.
mirrors.
Your IKEA mirrors. Ooh, yes.
That is a nice hack for anyone with a Creality CR10. That IKEA do a set of 5 mirrors for like £4 that are the exact right size for that. And obviously a mirror is really good. It's the same as glass, and you can, or if it does warp more than mine, because I can't really see, in theory you can see if it's warped because the reflection in the mirror will be diffracted slightly, so
Makes sense.
in theory it's alright. But yeah, I think I need a new mirror because the first layer's been curling up a bit. So yeah, it's just one of those things. So many things have changed. It's now in a cupboard. I'm changing materials and all sorts, so few teething issues to sort out with that. Then I'll start printing properly. But yeah, the problem being as well, like, the prints are quite long ones, so I've sort of had to do it over a few days trying to test it and stuff. So yeah, that's the main design stuff I did. I didn't really feel like there was anything else I needed to do. I'm still doing my rough sort of drawings most days to try and just do some designing, a bit of it's a sort of thing that I've done, and I write in my notebook as everyday homework, and it's just try to design something every day, half an hour of drawing. Just
good aim.
Hit us
good
with
aim.
some of your ideas, Harry. Come on.
No, I do not want to disclose this information yet.
I've seen one
Oh no,
from a
they're all
couple of
terrible.
weeks ago.
There was I did like a chess set.
That was it. That's what I saw.
Yeah, I did a nice chess set, and then I designed an MP3 player, just very standard things. Then I've also done a few Roga ideas, but yeah, no, that's sort of just what I've been doing.
What's
More
Roga?
rogue. I don't know if that's a word.
More road.
Okay.
I'm assuming it isn't a word as you pick me up.
Roga.
Yeah. When you first said it, I was like, "Oh, there's some product that I don't know. A Roga."
No,
Roga.
that's just me.
Starting a
terrible
brand.
English.
I like it.
Maybe I'm gonna design a Roga. Okay, who knows? But yeah,
Sounds like
that's
a pen.
It could be. It could be whatever you want it to be. Though.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all I've been doing. Nothing too exciting, really. Hopefully, I'll try and be a bit more
good
productive
stuff.
next week. It's all right.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Every week can be productive, you know.
No.
To be fair, it would have been productive if it worked.
Oh yeah, no, that's the thing. It's just a lot of
The time
lot of
was
stuff I had
true.
to fix. Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
execution.
The input was there, the output wasn't there.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
exactly.
So
So if you
so
put the
many
same input in
factors.
next week,
Yeah. In theory.
hope
yes.
for the same result. Oh, well, a different result. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing with 3D printing. There's so many different factors that can influence it. It's
And
just
it-
like a slight breeze can distort like one layer
Yeah.
of like printing, and then it just screws up.
Because there's a few things. So I've moved it into a cupboard, and I really should have done some test prints to make sure it worked when it's now in this freezing cold cupboard with PLA. So it's like everything else is the same, just the location's different. But instead, I decided to move it into a cupboard and change the filament. So I've got 2 different variables now changed.
Oh no!
And the other thing is also it's in another room. It's not in this room anymore. So, and it's in a cupboard, so I wouldn't be able to see it anyway. But I can't like see it as soon as it fails. So I don't actually really know. I can't see it failing as it's happening unless I just sit there and watch it. But I can't because I have to work. So, yeah, it's a pain. So it's there going in, seeing a failed print and being like, right, how do I think this failed? But
Yeah, and as you said, it takes so long as well, doesn't it?
yeah.
If it's like, well, how long does that take to print?
The whole print is 14 hours.
14
Oh.
hours. So imagine just like waiting 10 hours of your print and then
Yeah.
it's failed and you don't know
That's a
when
long
and
time.
why it's failed. It's
Yeah, the
that's
first
frustrating.
time it failed, because the first time I printed it, I didn't check it for ages because I haven't had a print fail on me in months, right? I haven't. It's just I normally just press go, then leave it for 10 hours, whatever. I went in and it was awful. The filament was in a massive ball around the
Oh
nozzle.
no.
I had to take the nozzle off and clean it all. It was awful. It's not what I wanted to be doing on the weekend.
Filament coming out of the cupboard.
Something's
wrong.
It was covered under the door. It was all sorts. Yeah, but that's something that's really annoying. But luckily, that has happened to me once before, and I actually got this thing called a nozzle sock, which is basically just a silicone thing that goes over the nozzle print or heater cube, and it's a lot better in theory to stop things sticking to it. Obviously it did this time because there was so much filament there, but and it's better because if you go check your printer, because most Creality ones or Ender ones, they all have the same things. They just have insulation tape around the metal heater block, and if you could basically get a load of filament stuck to that, and then when you try and remove it, it then rips all the tape off. So I got a little £5 silicone printer sock, and it saves a lot of hassle. So that's a nice little thing to get if your
There's so
prints
many
keep failing.
I think that's the thing I was going to look into next, of
Upgrades.
see what upgrades you can print and what you can do to improve it and things like that.
Yeah.
I know my old colleague, he'd come in and every day he would have tried something new on his printer and upgraded it in such a way, or got a new nozzle, or got a few new couplings and things like that, which help the 3D printer.
Yeah,
So
people
he's
get
always
so into it.
trialing new stuff.
Yeah. People end up
That's cool.
customizing their printers more than they're actually printing other things because they get so into it. But yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun though, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's good. It's very good.
And as soon as you get this sorted, you shouldn't hopefully have any more problems with that material. So
In theory, yeah, in theory, it's a pain because the problem is now I think I've exhausted all the other options that I need to now get a new print bed. But if it still doesn't work after that, I'm gonna be so sad. But fingers crossed. Hopefully,
I hope so.
Hopefully we're
Yeah.
good.
Fingers crossed for you.
Yeah, it's fine. It should be good. I only really wanted to try PETG plastic because apparently it's really strong, and apparently it's really nice to sand compared to PLA, because PLA is famous for being awful to sand. And as I'm casting this, I really want to sand it so it's very smooth on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
So then whatever I cast is then also smooth.
Yeah, definitely.
Makes sense. Yeah.
It's not feeling very worth it at the moment. But that happens.
It will be worth it. Yeah, it's worth the trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get your product with the perfect finish, you're going to be so happy that you spent the time.
Yeah, it'll be satisfying then. Yeah, for sure. Right.
So, should we
Yeah.
go on to our main topic?
I think so.
So I was going to say, what are we going to talk about today, guys?
So the main topic that we're going to go on to is just university in design-related
yes.
aspects.
Yes.
It's a good topic.
We are all very
Hot
familiar
topic.
with university.
Exactly. Well, that's why it makes a perfect topic. So how are we going to start? It's such a broad topic.
Well, I guess, how did you guys find university as a general thing?
Generally,
Yeah, did you enjoy it?
it was the best. I mean, it's like a proper cliche thing, isn't it? Where but before you go to university, all the school teachers and stuff are like, "Oh, it's going to be the best time of your life," whatever. And my dad's like, "Oh, best time of my life," and then it is. It honestly is, because when do you have all that? First of all that free time to do basically whatever you want, where you're in a place where everyone wants to learn the same thing as you, so you're bound to find things in common with everybody, and you don't have a job. It's great.
Yeah.
It's
I know.
like
Good.
I think compared to others, we did a lot of work, but one of my
Had a
favorite
good
things
mindset.
was we used to go to do our work. We used to go at 9, And then if we wanted to leave at 1 o'clock to go down the pub and play pool for the rest of the evening, we could.
A little bit of free pool.
And that's what's missing now. Yeah, we used to buy one pint. Sometimes it was Coke because we were cheap, and that'd have us free pool for 6 hours.
Yeah, no, it was very good. I think we were very lucky, and that allowed us to have the mindset we did, though. Like, if our
for
course
sure.
mates weren't our best friends at uni, so if we weren't course mates and we were from outside of the course friends, I don't know if we necessarily would have gone in at 9 till 6 as much as we did.
No, we did.
But
yeah,
as
lot.
we were all like best mates and we were able to go into uni together and we were just chatting all day, messing around, doing our work, it then made it very pleasant for us to go in at 9 and I was just going in to see my friends and we're doing some work at the
exactly.
same
Yeah,
time.
you're not regret. You're not like, oh God, I really have to go in today. You're not dreading
It's like,
going in.
I'll go see Nick and Andy. It'll be
Exactly.
nice.
You get your Greg's
mean-
on the way. It's great.
Or classics Greg's on the way. What's it? Almond croissant and a latte,
That's
£2.
it.
Yes.
£2.
every
Yeah.
morning.
Oh dear.
That was it.
Yeah.
I guess what also helped, and we also heard this from quite a few of our lecturers, was that our class as a whole, we were all really friendly, and we all kind of got on, and we could all chat and communicate with each other, and we had a laugh, and that kind of showed in a lot of our lectures where our whole class of like how many people, like 20 odd people.
I think
We
it
all
was
got on. We could all chat to
40
each other.
total, I think.
Yeah. No, it was really good. There's
40
only a
total,
couple
is
of
it?
people that didn't really join in with the groups. I think it really showed in all of our group project grades as well. I mean,
Oh,
obviously
definitely.
there's a couple, but I think generally our group projects were on average a lot higher than everyone's individual sort of work, just because we all work together so well, which is really
Definitely.
nice, really good. So I think we generally had a pretty positive experience throughout here.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Andy. It is cliche, but everyone always goes, "Oh, it's going to be like the best time of your life." Again, it really was. Like,
With all your
I
friends
miss
living
it
around
so
the corner.
much. Yeah,
But it
living
also
with your friends as
Well,
well.
living with your friends, yeah.
It
Yeah.
also was mainly the people, though. The reason I felt
Oh,
like
for
we
sure,
enjoyed it so
for
much.
sure.
Because obviously I did the Masters as a 12 months after.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it didn't feel like uni to me, you know?
But I do also hear that masters is very different because it's all self-learning. So you actually
Tell me
do.
about it.
You are working all the time, right?
It was. Self-learning was the word. I mean, obviously they taught you a few things, but they mainly gave you PowerPoints that you could look over. That's what they taught you. And then, apart from the odd lecturer that would actually answer questions, they wouldn't all. But they would be like, right, this is the coursework, and they went through the theory, and then they said, okay, this is the coursework, you're using this software, the handle is at this date, and then you wouldn't see him again. And you had to then teach yourself the software to
Wow.
do the thing. So the main one we had for that was FEA, finite element analysis. So
Sure,
just
sure.
like stress calculations and stuff. We had to teach ourselves the Abacus software, which is, I mean, it looks like it's from about the 80s. It looks horrible. And then we had to teach ourselves it. And it's all, it's not like a modern software, which like a Creo or a SolidWorks, where they're all super user-friendly. They were just horrible, but you just had to teach yourself it. And every single software we used at uni, at Brunel, I don't know if it is the same for other masters, but it was self-taught at every single one. But you do remember what you learn when you're doing it like that. So I get why they do it, because like after uni, if you ever like join a new job and you're like it's having to use some slightly different software, you'll be able to teach yourself that as well, and it's not really a problem.
Yeah.
So
It's
I
just
get
about-
it, but it's the stark contrast between the undergrad and masters. Because undergrad, okay, they didn't fully teach you, but at least you'd have like an intermediary coursework, which is like super simple using the software. Where you like
yeah,
it's very different. Yeah.
we had quite a few lectures about modeling a cube in CAD, things like
Exactly,
that.
yeah.
It's just really basic stuff, and
You
it
had
did kind of
basically like
evolve.
the tutorial courseworks for all the softwares at undergrad, which are just they cut that out in the Masters. I
mean,
guess you
yeah.
need to.
It's mad how long they give you for these such basic like CAD models.
In
It's
the
unbelievable.
beginning,
You get
was
3 months,
crazy.
like 3 months to make a card reader, and that was third year. That was final year. I mean,
Well,
obviously you
we
need
had-
everything
was
with
it
it, but like, wow.
I mean, yeah,
The,
right.
the CAD exam of assembling Lego. Assemble 3 Lego bricks is all like, okay, sure, nice and easy.
And
Oh,
you look
it's
back on it,
ridiculous.
that is insane. That is
That's
insane.
ridiculous,
That
wasn't it?
was like 40% of our grade.
Yeah, and then they kind of came over and see if you did it in like the most efficient way possible.
Oh,
Because there was
I
like some like
almost blew it.
mirroring something and doing something else, and the guy came over and was like, "Oh, I see you've actually mirrored it, so you've saved yourself loads of time." I'm like, well, why wouldn't I? It was obvious.
Oh, that
Like,
one.
Come on.
Because we were in slightly different groups, I believe. So I
Yeah,
had
you
to
had the
put
fire
together
truck, didn't you?
a fire
Fire
truck.
truck, yeah.
And I was like, "Are you kidding me? This is a load of rubbish." So I then ended up doing it so the wheels moved and the ladder moved up and down. And I was playing with it in the exam, and he came over when he was coming to mark it, and he was like, "Why did you do that? You just had to put it together." And I was like, "But it all moves. It works now."
Yeah. I had to sit there otherwise. It's fun.
Ah, silly.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
lucky
it's
you
in the
didn't.
same menu,
Yeah.
isn't it? Like,
Yes, it's
when you're
just-
assembling it, it's
yeah.
like, oh, I make this a movable joint. There we go.
You just need to know it's called a pin joint or pin constraint rather than just
Yeah.
whatever the other one is. I never use the other one really. But yeah, it's that made me laugh. But that's one of the many
Yeah.
times I just went way too far in coursework just because it was funny, and luckily I was never marked down for it.
But I do think like uni life as a whole, like I know people don't like. I hear a lot of people that don't like uni, and I know there's pros and cons that you can go down an apprenticeship route, and you can just get a job and things. But I do think going to uni you learn so many life skills as well. Like you've got to find a house, you've got to pay the bills, you've got to
Cook.
find your own internet supplier, you've got to deal with housing conflicts. You
Yeah,
know,
live
all
with
this
people
kind
you
of
don't
stuff.
like.
Live with people you don't like, and it's like, especially in halls,
Oh yeah, like
leaks in your
honestly,
house.
I after 2 weeks, I called my brother because he went to the same university as us. He left as we all joined, and I just rang him. I said, I don't want to do it anymore. This is awful, because
What was it? What was the reason?
because I think actually it was after the first week. 'Cause I'm not going to name names, but like I'd only met a couple of people from our course, and I absolutely hated them. We're not going to name any names, but yeah, they were just
That is
absolutely
rough.
awful. I didn't really get on with many of the people in my house, and it was just horrendous. And then he said, just give it till Christmas, give it 1 term, and if you don't like it, then obviously stop. But he was like, you will like it.
Then
And
December or Christmas, just before we broke up, we had our first night out.
I'd say I think I met you, Nick, on like the 2nd or 3rd week or something. So
yeah, through
another person. So yeah, I mean, basically, yeah, he was like, oh, this is my friend Nick, and then we were friends and we ditched the other guys. And it was
Yeah.
great.
I just remember like it was at your halls, Andy, wasn't it? And we had like a course house party in your halls, and we were all playing this card drinking game, and like Harry, you turned up early, and it was instant like, oh, you like this,
Yeah.
oh, we're friends.
Yeah,
We're gonna be friends.
That was
You
it.
decide.
That was
the
it.
drinking game. Yeah, that was actually
Yeah,
really
it's
funny,
very
Harry,
easy.
because I didn't know your name. So I'm really bad with names. So like my automatic go-to thing for the drinking game rule was no first names, because then I just couldn't get your name wrong. And then like halfway through, I was like, I quite like this guy.
This
Didn't
is
know his
working,
name.
This guy.
yeah.
Oh, it was awful.
No, because
honestly.
that was really good, because our other friend in our sort of close group at uni, who is not on the podcast, unfortunately, Alice, she lived in the halls directly above you.
Yeah, she used to come down
So,
the fire escape.
I was friends with Alice, and I went up to hers, and then you guys were downstairs already, and I was like, oh, I'll go down and meet them. And then, yeah. That was very strange, though.
So it's
like-
weird how you kind of get friends with people too, because I was only friends with Alice because we walked home together,
Well, she was literally one.
She was
flat
literally
directly
one thing.
above you.
Yeah, like we walked into the same halls, then we walked up the same stairs. Like, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, friend. Hi, yeah, friends.
Yeah, it's like, yeah,
Let's walk
friends.
to class together. You know,
That's it.
Yeah.
you
No,
live
it's
5
good.
minutes away, and you're always like
Always
5
late.
minutes late.
Always late together.
And I
yeah.
live 45
Always.
minutes away.
It's mad how that happens,
Yeah.
though.
Me and Nick lived on the other side of Portsmouth, and we get in first. Like,
I lived in a damp cave.
Oh, that your first
underground.
house was horrendous.
Not good for my health.
I think both me and Nick had pretty bad rolls on our first year houses. To be fair,
Yeah.
the dampness and
I can't remember.
It was literally like a
yours.
damp wall. Like you'd open the front door, step into like a portal. You just feel it hit your face. Like, oh.
yeah, no, it was the same here because I remember waking up halfway through Freshers Week and there was just a waterfall at the end of my bedroom. I was like, that shouldn't be there. I had to go
That's
in the
why-
kitchen and get all the pots and pans to catch all this
Oh my
water in the
God.
middle of the
That's,
night.
why, that's why
no.
both of you used to crash at mine all the time.
Pretty much.
Slept on your sofa in the living room, which was about half my length.
I mean, we used to get like Domino's pizza or whatever and stay up till like 3 or 4 in the morning. So I mean,
Chatting.
On the regular, yeah.
it's great. I mean, so that's the good part of uni. Like you, no matter what course you're on, you got to find some friends. And,
I mean, a lot of
that's
people
also,
find
yeah.
that through societies. And that,
Yeah, I'd say that's something that you wanted to talk about, Nick. Societies, wasn't it?
Yeah. I was going to say, like, because my very first year at uni, I joined doing civil engineering.
Oh yeah, Nick liked it so
And-
much he did an extra year.
Yeah, I had like, I had a couple friends there, but because before I went to uni, it was like, oh, I don't want to do product design, I don't want to do civil engineering. I was like, oh, I kind of like civil. I like the idea of like designing my own buildings and stuff. Probably should have done architecture or something instead, but I was like civil engineering. And then there was a whole module on like concrete. And I was like, oh man, like how much can one person love concrete? It's like, oh. And it was like Freshers Week, first week in, everyone's hungover. Our very first maths lesson in Freshers Week, we get thrown an exam. It's like, oh god, this is so intense. Like a maths exam in Freshers Week, everyone's hungover. This is brutal.
That's unacceptable. To be fair,
That is.
that's
And there was like
nasty.
one piece of coursework we had to work in a team and design a chair, and I was like, you know what, I'm in the wrong course. This is not for me.
So
Like,
how long did you stick it out in civil?
I stuck it out until just after Christmas, so after
Hey,
the first
that was
term.
what I was told to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
So-
it's
So I
one
d-
term.
because I
I did
forget.
that.
So what did you do then? Did you just hang around in Portsmouth for the rest of the year, or did you go home?
I basically come home and started working.
Mm.
I believe I was working in Sainsbury's at the time, so I think like I was a bit disappointed in myself because I kind of thought, oh, you know, I'm a failure. Like I've already failed. Like I've joined uni, which is such a big deal, and I've already dropped out. And but it turns out obviously it was the greatest decision. But at the time, it was really really horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, like the course itself, it wasn't for me. You know, like I know a few civil engineers, and you know, it's a really good career, good money as well. I think the money thing is really good. I was always told if you want to get good money, you do quantity surveying. Don't go down civil. Don't go down quantity surveying. How much of what you need to make this building, you know, and then suddenly you get bank. But
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess that's something I want to talk about as societies, because when I joined civil, I joined the rowing society, and whew, that was intense. That was an intense couple of months.
That's so maths
Oh.
maths exam and rowing.
It was like it was like 3 days a week of mandatory sessions, and then there was a Saturday morning 6 a.m. run, which they kind of recommended you do. And it was so hard. I don't think to this day I've ever hurt as much as I hurt like that first week of joining the rowing society, because what they did in the first week, I don't know if that's the same across other societies, but they kind of pushed you really hard just to kind of weed out the people that they knew weren't going to stick around. So like, okay, we're going to make this really hard, and then the people that are going to leave, they'll leave, and then the people that are dedicated are going to stay to it. I stuck through that week, and it was hard. Like I'd never done any kind of weightlifting at all. Like I think the best I'd done was like the machines in the gym, right? The assisted machines. That's all I've done. And suddenly I get put in a circle of people where you're doing like Olympic lifts and things like that. It was intense. But luckily I'd always did well on the running, so that was always good, and the kind of the cardio stuff. But after that, because I only lasted like a couple months, and then I dropped out the first year, and I never did any society again, really, apart from the beer pong society. I guess that counts.
Say, the only thing I ever did was that, like, we went to the beer pong society like twice or something, but it was on the wrong day, which was the problem. It was on a Thursday when student night was a Wednesday, and that's the whole reason you join a society. Well, I mean, apart from the society itself, is to. And we were pretty damn good at beer pong, to be honest. Like,
we were really good.
We put ourselves to shame now. Like, we're horrendous.
Yeah, I don't want to play anymore.
Snakebite
It'll
now.
be depressing.
Well, the last time that we played, I had Nick on my team, and I got them all in except one and lost, and he blamed me.
Oh dear. Yeah, you let us down then. You let us down.
Unbelievable, Andy.
And then when I was with Harry,
out.
it was like,
And you started to
I think-
slaughter him in. I'd say
dear.
that's got to be
But-
the least COVID-friendly game, isn't it?
Oh my god!
Yeah.
There's one time I played in my old kitchen in my
I was
second
there.
year house, and it was me, Andy, and my housemate at the time, and that was when I realised how unhygienic beer pong is.
If you've never hoovered your house, it's very
If you don't
unhygienic.
clean,
There's
if you
hair-
don't clean
hair
your,
gets in
your
the
kitchen
water.
floor,
There was like this
It's
corner
not
full of hair, full of dirt, and the kitchen was slanted down towards that. So we would throw it and like
Stop
Don't let it go
stop
down
it
there.
getting there.
yeah, that I would not recommend. I'd definitely use a table, not a kitchen floor.
Yeah, but
beer,
I guess
beer
like
pong.
that's one of the things that I regret not doing kind of after the first year is joining a society. And I think you're kind of encouraged to explore quite a few. Like you shouldn't just join one and then leave or join. You should test out quite a few and see what you like. And there's so many different societies you can join, and I think being part of that is good for you. Like you do meet some people, and it also kind of adds to your schedule. And I think having some sort of routine at uni is quite important. Else you end up just kind of sitting at home watching YouTube all the time sometimes. So.
Yeah.
Because you did a few societies,
Yeah, I was
Harry,
just
didn't
going
you?
to say, I did a few more than you guys, it seems. So, the first society I joined was actually table tennis.
Ooh.
And I went to the, their first session was like a trials. And I got into the team somehow. Then the first, friendly game was, that weekend. I went and they were all... I wasn't a fan of them. They were all trying very hard and shouting and stamping on the floor and all sorts. And I decided it wasn't for me, so I didn't continue table tennis. And then I did, because the other one I wanted to try was kickboxing, and that was great. It was really, really good. The ports on the kickboxing facilities were amazing. And that's one I actually carried on all the way through uni. I pretty much made every training session, and I started doing extra ones, so I was training 2 nights a week for that, and with all the same people, so that was really good. So I had a good solid group there. But I see most people who went to kickboxing, majority of those people, apart from the few on the fight team who were really my closer friends, they were all each other's closest friends. So the kickboxing group, they were like we are on the course. So they were all super close and they did everything together. Apart from the fight team, because with the kickboxing team, if you had a fight coming up, you weren't allowed to drink or party for 10 weeks before the fight. So obviously they weren't
10
as
weeks
close.
is a long time at uni.
Yeah. So they weren't as close to the main group of the kickboxing guys because, they were close, but they didn't go out and do all the nights out and stuff, obviously. So that's why I ended up going out and hanging around and training with those guys, because they were really good, and I almost wasn't in the closest centre of the kickboxing society because I didn't do the nights out because I was doing the nights out with you guys instead. I'd always bump
Yeah,
into
sure.
them. They'd always be like, "Oh, come with us next time," sort of thing. But
Nah.
nah.
Nah, I'm okay.
So we made our own society. We made
Yeah, we
the
did. Yeah, we
product
did.
design society.
I bet that's dead now.
we did try
let's be
golf.
honest.
Oh, we did try
I
golf.
forgot we
once.
tried golf.
Oh,
Oh, when you missed the ball, Nick.
yeah. Oh.
Oh, I
That was
will remember
uneventful.
that for the rest of my life.
Oh,
Not the most
Yeah, I
successful
don't think I'll ever
operate.
forget that day.
Oh, that was funny. I mean, I
The
like,
last
dear.
society I actually tried, and I only went once, and I went with my friend Chris, is we tried Surf Society, which was good. I went on the taster session, which we drove down to Wittering, and then also went on the surf trip, which we went from Portsmouth to Newquay, I believe. I think it was Newquay, Fistral Beach.
Yeah, Nuki. Yeah.
So that was a good trip, but I found out I wanted to do that a lot more, but that became really difficult because unless you had your own car and your own boards, it was pretty much impossible to do anything if you weren't really close friends with someone who had their own car, because they weren't
okay.
they didn't set up society like trips every week or whatever. It would just be like people inside the society would say like, I'm going down and I've got 3 spaces, and they just go with their close friends. So I found that was just really difficult to actually join in on a lot of the society stuff. Whereas a lot of the societies are very like easy to get involved in stuff, but that one I found was a lot more like cliquey. You had to be friends with the people that had the goods. Otherwise, it was just hard to do.
I mean,
So-
that's what
Yeah.
golf was, though, wasn't it? I remember
It was, yeah,
Pretty
true.
much.
we
yeah.
we got taken there by like one of the heads of the society or whatever. And honestly, it was the first time that I've been in a car in like 6 months, and it was really weird. Like
yeah.
driving there, and I was just like, what's going on? Like, I'm never in a car.
Yeah.
Oh, it was
Yeah, and they all knew each other as well. So it was like, oh yeah, can I get a lift? And they're like, oh yeah, you go over there. And then you go over there. They're like, oh yeah,
Yeah, you
get
go over there.
Tim. Is that
It was
What?
Yeah, just go that guy. Like,
put me in a
who?
car?
Yeah, no, it was a bit strange.
I mean,
well, we
yeah.
didn't leave the best impression, to be honest.
Nah,
Thing is, we were doing
Join
fine
join
the whole
society.
we were just doing
time. We
it
were
for
doing
fun.
fine the whole time, and then when everyone was leaving, and the like president, whoever gave us the lift, was waiting for us, and he's like, "Oh, do you guys want to finish that last bucket?" And then we go up to the tees to start hitting the bucket, and we all of a sudden none of us could hit the ball. We were there for ages.
I don't remember that bit.
They
I'll
were
probably
they were
blank that out of
staring
my
at us.
mind.
They would have stood there waiting for us, like 3 of them, like the people in charge of society, just watching these new guys just miss the ball entirely. Oh dear.
Oh no, the one thing that I do remember, I mean, there's 2 things that I clearly remember from that night. One of them is, the thing. And then the second one was that guy's swing. Do you remember the swing? That
Yeah.
swing was like, I've never seen anything so incredible in my life.
He
It was
hitting
like-
far.
2 full circles, isn't it? He managed to do, was it?
There were some characters there, that's for sure.
Uh,
And that is guaranteed in uni societies. You're going to meet
Oh,
some very oddballs for sure.
I mean, at uni, you're going to meet
general,
lots
yeah.
of different people.
yes, definitely.
Yeah, I guess. Right. Should we move on to lessons?
Yeah, I was
What do you think?
I was gonna ask, just initially, what were your favourite units and why?
Oh,
Who?
Either
Andy?
of you.
I mean, I've got a couple written down.
Oh, okay,
Um,
you're prepared.
Yeah, prepared. I mean, I liked anything that was modelling, to be honest, like 3D modelling. Those are my favourite ones. I mean, I didn't really like any of the others. Like, I know that you guys kind of liked, well, I think you had a different course where you moved on to do more advanced materials and stuff. But I wasn't too fussed about any of those. But no, I liked, yeah, any of the modelling ones. So we did one that was just literally called Advanced Modelling, where we would design something and 3D model it, and it needed to work properly. So we had that. So I made a card reader, as I mentioned earlier, a bicycle, and then you had to do a load of fancy technical drawings with them, as we mentioned in the last podcast, I think. And there was one as well where we made a mould. So that's good for.
That's really cool.
Good for
It's really
stuff.
cool. I can't say I've ever done a mold before properly, so
There was a
Interesting.
proper injection mold, and you did all the tooling for that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually really cool. And
So that's something I've never done actually, is mapped out the tool path for the tooling of the mold.
Yeah,
Which is kind of cool.
that's it.
It's
And
really
then it was actually
interesting.
it was kind of interesting because our lecturer would always just, if we asked him a question, he'd just say it's common sense, like literally to everything. And then
they do that on masters.
he was
for
like,
sure.
just common sense. So I think on one of our things, you have to cite, quote who said it, and we put him, common sense. Because we couldn't find the information anywhere, so we all just put him, his slide, common sense.
common sense.
But he was actually a really good lecturer though, because my group, because I was on a slightly different course to you guys. I was on a computer aided product design rather than product design and innovation. I mean, pretty
Yeah,
similar.
because how it worked was like year one, and you chose either product design and innovation or computer aided product design.
Yeah,
And then the first year was the same, so we did all the same stuff. And then second year you had a few different units.
yeah, and then third year was
And then
pretty
third year it was
pretty
very different, wasn't it?
But yeah, so I had a group of 4 of us, and we went to every lecture, and there was a couple of other guys that went to every lecture, and he knew that. So by the end, I think it was like we had 2 weeks till our hand-in was due, and he said, if anyone's finished now, or almost finished, I will grade it now and give you 10% more. So like our incentive was like, damn. So like we
Get it done.
we got it done, and that was my highest grade. I got 94. It was absolutely
Smashed it.
ridiculous because
Yeah.
obviously I got 84, and he was just like 84 plus 10%. I was like, that's without the 10%.
Oh wow.
But
That's insane.
he helped the people that actually showed up, and the people that didn't show up got terrible grades.
That's something I
Too
was going to
right.
mention, because I chose him for my dissertation supervisor, and I chose him
No,
because
no, this
I
was a
knew.
different guy.
Oh, that wasn't Cressy.
No, that was Popov.
Ah, well, same point will apply.
They're
Ollie.
similar guys.
That he cared so much about your sort of dedication to the project. So if you turned up to all the lectures with him, or in the individual project terms, the meetings with him, then he would help so much more, and he loved it. I'm sure he gave me such better grades, and he was so much more lenient just because I turned up to everything and had something to show him every single meeting and stuff like that.
And
Which it does
yeah.
make such a big difference.
I say we were together for an ergonomics unit, which had really nothing to do with 3D modeling, and we made like the dankest 3D model of a camper van where everything in it moved, and he came over and said like none of it needs to move, and then we're like, we know, we're just doing it for fun, and he's walked away kind of smiling at us like,
And when he says everything moved, we made the taps move and everything. It was
yeah, the cupboard slide
I
open,
remember the presentation.
it was
the
entirely
wheels
unnecessary.
spin.
Glorious, yeah.
Yeah.
How long
Oh.
did the render take?
Oh, it literally was like 17 hours. I was
Oh, that
in
was,
the library the whole time.
That was the Josh hack, wasn't it? Where you go on, you log into the library computer, you auto click so it isn't going to turn itself off. You turn off the screen and take the mouse,
Steal the mouse.
so no one can put it. You just hide the mouse somewhere. No one's going to use it. Hopefully. Oh, that was
That
so
was,
funny.
that was
That's
so
what we had to do
stressful,
because
though.
none of the computers were good enough to do our renders.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
took
especially
so long.
at the level that we wanted as well.
Yeah.
That was
Like,
weird.
I think
actually
even like
annoyed
a
me.
low quality render would take like two hours or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't even that long. It was like a
Well,
5,
that
6
was-
second thing.
It was a video animation render. The annoying thing I had, because the computers were so bad, basically when I was applying materials to the thing, I had to wait like 10 minutes for it to basically just like settle, because it does the real time rendering. So and I like missed so many surfaces that you could actually, well, I would notice because I knew they were wrong, so many surfaces I'd missed because I couldn't see. It was just a pixel whenever I applied
Yeah.
the
Just
material.
noise.
It just took so long to do it. So it got to a point where I just needed to click render, and then when it rendered 17 hours later, or whatever it was, I saw I'd missed a few things. I was like, I can't redo that.
Yeah, I remember that, but I mean, I don't think anyone noticed.
No one noticed.
I
It
think
was like you say, it was like less than 10-second clip, way over the top.
So we did a solid presentation, I think.
I think that's probably my best
Proper
presentation. to be
proper
fair.
hype.
You've got to, yeah. You gotta get into character.
That's mad. I mean, that's kind of, I was gonna go off topic a little bit, but I made a video a couple of months or two ago. I used to have a bad stutter, and it came out more after I'd done a presentation. I actually remember, I don't know whether it was that one or another presentation, but we went to go get like a celebration meal, and I went up with Nick to go and order my food, and I just honestly couldn't get any words out because I used up all my effort of speaking during the presentation. It was so funny. And she was like, "What do you want?" And I was just like, "That one."
Oh dear. Yeah.
Oh,
well.
dear.
So Nick, what was
So-
your particular favourite subject?
I don't know. 'Cause I did enjoy the sketchbook units. I guess they were slightly less structured, but I liked kind of the variety of projects that we got to work
Yeah,
on.
the projects we did were good.
Because how the sketchbook units kind of worked is like, oh, you're gonna design a new product that fits within the Angerpoise range, or you're gonna design like a piece of furniture inspired by organic, something organic, And what else do we do? We did Ray Marine. We did like a remote control, and it kind of just forces you to think about factors that you probably wouldn't normally think about. Like obviously the Ray Marine remote, for example, like where it's going to be used, and like just because of where it's going to be used and how it's going to be used, like you've got to design the buttons in certain ways and things like that. Like
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of my favorite units, even though it was more self-learning, because we weren't really told a lot about that, were we? And I think
no.
the overall structure of the sketchbook wasn't great, because sometimes you jump back and forth. You kind of start on this one, you haven't finished this one, and then you start the next brief, and then you can't quite go back. But I did like just the work that we did.
The projects were nice. Yeah, the projects
Yeah.
were nice.
I do remember that though. You saying, yeah, we would start one before we finished the other. They would like give us them in like quick succession, and we're like, we'd not finished the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do assume that is some method to sort of be like, look, because that was at first term or first year at least. And that was basically them saying,
Second year.
was Sketchbook only second year?
Sketchbook was second year, yeah.
Oh,
First year was technical drawing in the first part, then AutoCAD aeroplane in the second, where me and Nick almost
that was
took
a
out
good
my
unit,
housemate.
actually. That was
It's a
good.
shame we didn't.
True, it was only second year. So we only started using, we used SketchUp.
We used
We used
SketchUp,
SketchUp year one. Oh, SketchUp.
No, because then we had
We used SketchUp
for
year
that.
2 as well.
Interesting.
Did we? No, I thought year two we used Creo.
Yeah, we did a little bit.
Yeah.
We used Creo for the lamps, but we used SketchUp
Because I
for...
thought-
Remember, we had the
Oh.
glasses. The
That was
glasses
first year.
was SketchUp.
Yeah.
We had the blender and
That was first year.
the speaker.
Toaster.
Oh,
I had a
dear.
toaster.
Oh, the speaker.
Yeah, that was all Sketchbook unit.
Yeah. Oh,
But I
good
guess
Yeah,
the
yeah.
reason they
Oh, so
gave,
we did two
gave us so many
sketchbook
things.
units.
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
different books. Yeah, because I think we had it first and second year. There were the progressions, and then we had another unit which you said, Nick. We had to design a range of white goods, and that was a different unit. That was computer aided illustration.
Product
I believe.
analysis, wasn't it?
Something
like that, yeah.
like
Or was that a different
That
one?
was there was a
We had a load of
memorable
units.
there was a memorable moment from that one for me. I was there with our good friend Tom, and he designed something. He drew, it was like a toaster or something, and she came over the lecture and was like, oh, it's a really good design. And then the next week she came over and saw the same thing, And then she was like, "Oh, it's not very original, is it?" It's like, it wasn't original because you'd seen it the week before. It was just, they just didn't
Oh,
have a
dear.
clue. It was so
That's
funny.
something though that I was gonna say in opposition to you liking the sketchbook unit, Nick, and it was because I did art A level. That is entirely sketchbook based. So much of it doesn't really matter how good your design is, or whatever. It just depends what you write about it. And that really annoyed me, because you could have a really good design and then just not want to write an essay about your design, and then you can get good marks for it. And I always felt it was not very good in terms of the feedback for how you design things. You could do all the right process and do good practices, and then you just don't justify in your writing. And most people did very little writing, because who wants to write out comments by hand?
That's why I didn't like art.
Yeah, that's why I did not very
'Cause
well
I
my
did
art
it,
A level
yeah.
for that reason, because I didn't justify my work very well. I've never been good at English.
You know, we had a good art teacher that used to come around and go, your work looks like this artist. And we'd be like, oh, I'll write that down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like one of the units I did enjoy was the product analysis one, where we did do the white goods,
That was useful.
and that's been.
later
I think
on
that's
that was
useful just because. Sorry.
The later project, I don't feel like the first one I liked that much, but the last few projects we had through the product analysis unit, I feel like they were really useful and actual stuff what I've used
Yeah.
in work. Yeah.
Because I think like it's really valuable to actually get given a product and then take it apart. I know obviously uni you have to just go into detail about everything, but it's kind of what you do in real life. Like you do buy competitors' products and you just take it apart and you look how they've done it.
It's just
I think
reverse
that was
engineering.
quite-
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's quite valid. Like that relates to what you do in industry, and I thought that was quite interesting. And then you also get like if you're unfamiliar how something is, injection molded, you can kind of say, well, let's have a look how this one was made, and okay, it's got ribs here and here, kind of thing. And it's like it does help to view other products, even though it's not the best thing ever because it's like a $4.99 toaster from Argos. It's not going to be made well, but
that unit, yeah.
I mean,
I forgot.
things
Yeah, I
like
forgot
that,
about that.
yeah, it won't be made the best, but that is a very good example of how they can make something that works
Cheap,
so
yeah.
cheap. And that is a very valuable skill, to know how to design something cheap.
But I do think probably like materials is probably one of my most enjoyable topics, and I think it does just come down to our lecturer, who is just so. We had two
he was-
lecturers, didn't we?
He was good.
And they were both super passionate. So we had Zangi and we had Hom, right?
Zongi Zhang, yeah.
Zongi Zhang is like the most enthusiastic man I've ever met about plastics,
He loved it. He loved it so much.
polymers. So, and
He loved his plastics.
he did, and he loves his like analogies of like how you
T-bone
remember
steak.
stuff, and like T-bone steak, scrambled egg was a good one.
Yeah, T-bone steak
And
and
it was like
scrambled eggs.
he always turned it into like a drinking story, which actually helped us to remember a lot of stuff.
No, he was very good.
And of
at
course,
that.
it's material knowledge, so it is super valuable. Like manufacturing processes, of course, when you get into industry, if you're going to design something that's going to be injection molded, you kind of need to know roughly how it's going to be made, right? I feel like
It's a very big part of designing things.
yeah, like
It's pretty
you don't-
useless if you design something and then don't know how it could be potentially made. It's pretty
yeah,
useless.
like I feel like it doesn't have to be perfect, but the more you know and the better it is, then the less that factories in China are going to tweak it and potentially ruin it as well. Like
Yeah.
so, not saying that they do, but I mean they do. They like to
definitely tweak
change
it.
stuff, so
They
yeah,
definitely tweak
they
things,
tweak it a lot sometimes. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, do it
it's
like
not good.
this, and it's like, oh, but that changes the feel of the product. You can't do it.
Yeah.
Don't touch it.
Get off.
But
Yeah. No, for
yeah,
sure.
I don't know, like materials, and I like the analysis. It's probably
Yeah.
like, two of my
I
favourites.
definitely feel like for me, the two, if I'm going by most useful for me, it'll be materials and ergonomics. I feel like I didn't really enjoy the projects in ergonomics that much, but it did make me always think more about all the anthropomorphics and ergonomics of products, and that is actually when you get down to it, a user experience is like the most important thing when you're trying to sell a
Too
consumer
right.
product. So that to me was very, like I said, I didn't really enjoy it at the time, but I do think I've learned to think about things in the way of ergonomics a bit more, and it's always in my mind now. So that is definitely a unit that is pretty useful. And then the other one was materials. I think the material knowledge helped me a lot in my masters, actually. Just that, like, I had a good base of material knowledge above other people that they obviously didn't have a materials unit like that. So I think that was very, very useful for me. Because I did a few units of a big project I did on my masters was actually designing a high pressure die cast mold, and you had to know so much about the sort of the material properties of the materials you're using. We did it aluminium. We learned a fair bit about aluminiums and things like that, which I think was really, really useful. And that was actually probably my favourite lecture, but it was because of who we had teaching it. But I really tried to not miss a single materials lecture. They were really, really good.
Yeah, like he was just so passionate.
Very engaging.
And I think
He'd
that
ask questions, and everyone would actually try and answer it, which was really good.
Yeah, and he also, if you didn't answer a question, he kind of would pick on you a little bit, and I think that's good. Like trying to make sure that you
For sure.
remember.
If you get
And
it
it'd
wrong,
always be
you're
like-
not forgetting that again.
Yeah,
Some
exactly.
guy fell asleep, didn't he? It was in materials. Front
It
of
was.
the front and centre, on the front desk.
Yeah, that's.
balls on that
I mean,
man.
I don't think I've ever fallen asleep in a lecture.
No, I haven't.
I've been very tired. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think I've ever fallen asleep.
Well,
Or maybe in our first year we had that manufacturing systems lecture,
Oh, that was terrible.
which is shocking. Like,
That was bad.
we just rocked up and played Hearthstone, didn't we?
Oh god, that was a few that we used to play Hearthstone. And I said one of my lecturers for electromechanics used to say 3 yawns and you're out.
I forgot you had that guy.
We had him. And
he was the guy
an
in the military, wasn't he?
ex-army guy. Yeah, like even his like Facebook page, he wasn't allowed to have his real name on it, in case someone knew where he was. Like he was a high up guy, and obviously it showed by his like discipline of like he used to get so angry if anyone yawned, and he was like, you didn't even try and hide it. Like he said, like you can put it in a book, yeah, sort of thing.
Amazing.
But yeah, we were like, oh my god, we're gonna hate this guy. And then the second lecture, and he was so good. Again, he was like a really passionate guy. He loved his stuff, and as long as you didn't yawn, yeah, you were fine. We even had a feedback on it, like, what do you feel about the lecture? And we were like, well, it's great, but what's this yawning thing like?
The yawning, yeah.
Oh, it was yawning, and then the other guy, you weren't allowed to hold a pen. And
Yeah, I remember
I don't
him
know
as well.
about anyone else, but I'm holding a pen right now. I have for
I've
the
been
last
playing with the pen.
for the last hour. Right?
I'm
And
just fiddling with it.
I always hold a pen, and that was one of the hardest things. And then he used to get so annoyed if anyone held a pen. And this was when I was first learning to spin my pen around my thumb, which I now do
Still
with
can't do it.
ease. And I
can't do it.
absolutely slaughtered it across the room. And he came and picked it up, came to my desk, went, slammed it down in front of me, and just carried on.
Unbelievable.
And I was like, sorry. I'm sorry.
The amount of times I used to fling my pen across the room in English lessons at school.
Oh, so funny.
Oh, it happens. It happens to the best of us.
But I would say one of the things that I wasn't prepared for from university when it comes to just general like design and CAD
What,
design and stuff
from
like that.
uni to work, or
Yeah,
just
from
in
uni to
general?
work. I'd say from uni to work, and I think that is 100% file naming and file structure, right?
Oh, that is funny.
Like
I may have
I
picked
feel
up a
like-
few bad habits. I feel at uni. It
Housing
didn't go
boy.
Yeah.
housing boy.
That guy
Like,
there.
I think everyone does it. You even see like jokes on Photoshop where it's like the final version, final V1, final V2 Rev A, you know, whatever. But it's like
Mhm.
it's like when I started working and suddenly it's like, oh yeah, this has got to be named this part. And then I think when I first started doing it, I was trying to name parts like the same, like it would be the same part but named different. So suddenly I'd have to like that would be stored in two different shelves, and suddenly it's
Yeah.
like, I'm wasting so much space. And also I think using like sourcing fixings and using the right fixings and things like that, I feel like we were never really shown that at all.
We weren't at all, no.
We had the one lecture where we had to design the plug so it actually could be manufactured, and that used screws and things like that. But
Yeah.
again, we modelled our own screws for that, didn't we? We had to model
Yeah,
our
I
own.
think we modelled our own.
Yeah, we were never told about like using standardized parts. That was never even mentioned, I'm pretty sure. So like,
No.
because when I started work, I was gonna do that. I was gonna model all the stuff myself. It's fine because you can get all the drawings for the screws and nuts, whatever.
Yeah.
And then my boss was like, "Oh no, SolidWorks, you just got this toolbox and you can just drag an M4x10 pan head screw in." And I was like, "What do you mean? Like, I
What do
don't
you mean
need to.
drag it in?
I don't
So,
need to
yeah.
model any screw or standardized part from now on." Like, it's very nice.
We used to look them
It's-
up and
Oh, my God, it used to
Make
take
'em.
so long. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's a huge
that's
thing, and I
that's
think
a very good point that we were never told that at all. Not even mentioned it. Yeah.
and I feel like that site is so essential. And I think when I first got in, they're kind of like, "What do you mean?" Like they're kind of you design something, they're like, "Yeah, that's great, but how does that fit together?" I was like,
Where are the fixings?
Good point. That's a very good point.
Or you'll be like, "Oh, you just glue it together." And like, what if things
Just
taken
glued, mate.
apart? Like, oh, it's a good point.
No, I'd usually just be like, "This is just the idea, okay?" But yeah, I feel like that's
just a
super valuable to
concept.
know.
It's just a
It's
concept.
just a concept. Like,
Was a very common phrase. Yeah.
yeah, which I mean, I still do to this day, to be honest. Like, if you just quickly model something, but
That's
at
a
the
lot
same,
easier.
but if you get to the final design, and suddenly it's got no fixings and there's no assembly to it at all, you don't really know how it goes together, and it's just also really interesting of like when you're working with factories that are abroad. Like we had a factory in Thailand, and there's like we couldn't get certain fixings because they got like taxed on certain things that like so we had to compromise sometimes and use different fixings just because it was cheaper that way.
That's
So
a nightmare.
and it's just all kind of these things that you just don't learn at uni, and I feel like you do have to learn that within industry, but they could certainly tell you, like they could be like, okay, you can use the common parts from SolidWorks Toolbox or Creo. I'm sure there's probably something similar in Creo,
I
but
think there is. Yeah.
yeah, it
I
must be.
never used
Must
it.
be.
Never used it.
no. So I feel like if the fact they never told us about it, we never even tried to put it in, did we?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest things, at least what I can think of.
What in terms of what we were not prepared for?
Yeah,
I think that's a pretty solid one. Potentially lumping in with that stuff with drawings. I think we mentioned this in the first episode, saying about what manufacturers actually need compared to a uni. You put everything on a drawing
Yeah,
because
everything.
you need to. Like you do that to prove you can do it, and that's what you're graded on, right?
yeah.
It isn't actually necessarily the right thing. You just put everything on there, and at work it's very different, but it's also very different from company to company depending on what suppliers they use. So that's
Sure.
something
Yeah, true.
very much that your company will have a workflow and a sort of template that they're going to use for their drawings. It might be technical drawing for every single bend or straight or whatever, or it could also just be very minimal things as pointing out how many holes you've got and the overall size of its sheet metal, for example. And it really depends on the supplier, and that's something that can actually change from work to work. But you're not prepared for that whatsoever from uni at all.
No, definitely not. Because I think when it comes to things like the process, I think you just kind of develop that. I feel like people do talk about the process a lot, and it is a really interesting kind of part of design. But the process is so different depending on what project you're working on.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's not like I feel like there's not just a clear kind of path when it comes to the process. It's like you do this and you go back. You do this and you can go back, and it's like a big squiggly line, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I don't think we were taught specifically the process at uni. It's more of just kind of like, oh, you just come up with some ideas first, and then you kind of develop it from there, don't you?
Yeah, maybe yeah.
But
Yeah, I think the process is just a general term that's pretty much used in every single situation, and it doesn't really mean anything in particular. If you know what I mean, it's
yeah, I do kind of wish we did have a few business units, but I think like our first year
Did we?
business were opening the jam jar and things like that. But it was also on a Friday at 5 p.m. So I mean, what can you do, right?
I think.
But I feel
yeah,
like-
I would have really liked a proper business unit.
Proper
Like, business is
design,
interesting.
when a lot of people who study design want to work themselves and be freelance, that's a very common place to go. Be it having a unit helping you do self-branding, marketing for yourself, and all sorts of stuff like that would have been so helpful, because I'm so stuck with things like that right now.
Yeah,
I
just
have
like
no
Because we had that-
idea.
what you even need. What documentation do you need
Where do
to
you
provide
start,
to
yeah.
clients and stuff? Like, yeah,
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
That's a
I had
useful
someone
unit.
who's like, "Oh, do you have a non-disclosure agreement you can send me?" I was like,
Uh,
Nope.
yeah. That
"Yeah,
because
okay." Like,
we had a unit. We did. I don't believe Andy's course did. But
yeah, we
had
could have
it-
chosen like an enterprise unit, couldn't we?
I think we could have. I don't know how useful it was, but we did have a portfolio unit, which the idea was we do the portfolio as the coursework, and then you can then use that to apply to jobs after, which is in theory good, right? I actually changed it a fair bit after, but that was in theory good. So that would have been a really good thing if you had a course where you could do, like you said, an NDA and all these other documentations that you might need to show for a client. That could easily have been one term. You come up with all these
Yeah.
documents and you have to
Definitely.
write it all up, and that could be a really, really good thing, and you would have it. It doesn't really need to change after that. Maybe a brand name, but
Yeah.
really
Because like
wish we
it
had
makes
that.
sense. Like a few people are like, I really want to talk to you about this project, but I think it's a good idea, and I don't want you to steal it. I need an NDA. And it's kind of like, oh, okay, like.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was like, I don't have one, you know. And like, I was like, is it my responsibility to find one, or is it your responsibility to give me one? Like, I don't know.
I don't
What
know.
is the best thing to do? But
Is
Um,
it like,
that
is
would
it-
have been
is it
really
a
helpful.
A template job?
there are templates.
Straight
yeah,
on
and
the
you can just tweak
Google,
it, so-
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
I'm writing that down for me.
Yeah. And there's also things like, well, I guess this is something that we're not really told and much about. It's kind of like British standards and kind of things like that we have to like adhere to when we're designing something. Like I know furniture, there's loads of tests that it needs to do
So
before
that
you can
was-
sell it, right?
That was covered more on my masters, to be fair.
Was it? Okay.
We had a lot more things, and in the brief, it's adhering to these standards and things like that. Often like 9001, the quality and things like that. But yeah, that wasn't really covered at all at Portsmouth. I don't think we actually covered. The only ones we did were some of the ergonomics
Yeah,
ones.
so there were ergonomics.
But
Oh yeah.
did
yeah,
we follow
you're right.
them? I don't think so. I think we
We
actually
jammed it
had
in
to
for an extra
cite
mark.
them. I think we had to cite them, so we found ones that are relevant rather than actually
exactly.
following
not,
any
not
particular
adhering them. no.
things. No, so that would have been really nice, and that's something that, like, I actually am not. My company, my company is very small. We are not like ISO certified, so we don't follow any of the standards. We follow some, but like in the terms of there is actual standards for workplace stuff. So like, for example, if any parts move around, there should be a technical drawing attached to that part and all things like that. We don't follow any of those at work, which that's normally a thing that would happen if you work in a very large company. But that, I think, would be a massive shock to the system of a number of things you need to do in certain orders and whatever regulations you need to follow to adhere to those standards. I think that
Probably put you off design as well. Maybe you're kind of
Oh,
like, I just want to design something. I didn't realize there's so much like legal. We
Yeah.
can bleep that one.
Again,
legal
God
stuff.
damn it, God damn it, Nick. Do you like the duck noise?
The Daku's coming back in full force.
Gotta write down when it is.
Oh dear. I tried my best.
I already self-censored myself earlier, so it's all good.
So,
Yeah, I think like. So we've gone through favourite lessons. We've gone. Was there anything that you think of, Andy, that hasn't kind of prepared you at all?
I mean,
Well,
I'm
Andy's not really.
Kind of.
I say
He's
I'm
doing
in,
something very separate.
I'm in a bit
right
of a different boat because I'm still on my first job straight out of uni that I just got even before graduation. Like I didn't even apply either. I got a call because they saw my CV on CV Library, and it was engineering. So they were like, "Oh, do you want to come in for an interview?" And this is when I'd like literally straight out of uni. I'd been working in Home Bargains for a week because I needed some money to go to Reading Festival.
Yeah.
And that was literally my aim, was to get enough money to go to Reading Festival. And then they offered me a job. So I was like, yeah,
job,
sure. So I do logistics, like projects. I'm not sure what my official job title is, but it's like project engineering. So it's like, but in a logistics space. So I get to use AutoCAD, and that's it. Like, that's as much as it leads
making me
towards
jealous.
the course. Yeah, I get to draw boxes on there, and then everyone think like that's also the thing which I don't like. I mean, fair enough. Some people don't want to do what course they do at uni. I do, but what happens to me is since like my second week, I was the god of CAD. Like, I had no one to learn from. Everyone learns from me, and it's like I'm literally just this kid that came out of uni. Like, I mean, I'm not going to disclose where I work, but the whole CAD at this point is done by me, and it has been for like 2 years, and that's really scary. Someone that's just straight out of uni and has all that on them. It's a respectable site. So yeah, and I was actually, because I got a new boss recently, and they were just asking about my background and stuff, and I said like, everything I've learned from this job, that's actually related to the job, because I had one lecture that was about logistics, and that was it. I didn't tell him that I sat at the back and played Hearthstone during that lecture, but like, you know, I mean, it isn't what I want to do going forward.
And how long have you been there now?
3.5 years. It'll be 4 years in July or June.
Really?
Are you planning to start looking around to change?
I was, so a couple of years ago I was like half looking, but I didn't have a portfolio, I didn't have a website, I didn't do anything. So all the jobs that I applied for I didn't get. And it's not a surprise, because I wasn't really trying. I was just like, oh, I don't like my job, but I wasn't
Half
actually
applying.
Yeah, I was like half applying. And then probably this time last year, it's like January last year was when I started properly applying for jobs. And then obviously COVID happened, and now there aren't really any jobs. Like, I get job alerts, they're all senior jobs, like there seems to be nothing normal going on. And then obviously the very few that are like entry level kind of things are going to be taken by people with like 10-15 years experience, because they've all lost their jobs. So, you know, it's not
It's really hard.
it isn't a great time to do it. But I mean, I'm still looking anyway, but there's not much about, to be honest. But, you know, hopefully in the future.
Yeah. I'd say that's one thing they did help you with at uni if you wanted to. We had this place called Purple Door, right, where if you wanted like interview experience, or if you wanted, you know, someone help finding jobs, or I know they even had like an enterprise that you could even like go there and work in an office and start your own business, and you got all the support, which I think technically I could probably still use now.
Yeah, it's up to 5 years,
But,
I think.
Yeah.
Is it?
I think
So
so.
I could probably still use them now, but it's like there's a lot out there if you wanted to use it at uni, but I feel like it wasn't
Although
pushed too much. But
personally, I didn't really like that Purple Door, because I went one time and then they completely ripped my CV to shreds.
Oh, they're not
come
fans.
back. I come back with all their changes, and then they ripped that to shreds and basically made me do it like it was originally. I was like, right,
Oh,
I'm
wow.
not coming
I don't
back
think
here.
anyone's ever happy
So
with
boring.
anyone's CV. There's like no
No.
good CV.
No.
No,
It's all
there isn't
personal
a perfect
preference,
CV.
isn't it?
Yeah, it depends who reads it and everything. So I just like, I'm not going to change it. I'm just going to have the information on there, and yeah.
Like some people like the ones that you do on Word with basic Times New Roman font, which is what mine is right now. And then some people like the designer CVs where it's like you've got it on Photoshop with the templates and stuff. Some people don't like that, and you just
Yeah,
like,
I think you definitely need to like eyeball it depending on what sort of company it is you apply to.
If you're going to go for like a heavy mechanical engineering role or
Just
something, you probably don't want to
pure
add
Word
any
document.
art stuff. Just a Word document,
Black and white,
nothing
Word document,
fancy.
yeah. So that's what mine
numbers
is
and
now.
words. That's all you need. Yeah.
But if you're going to go for like a consultancy, maybe they'd probably be a bit better having, Photoshop and kind of designed your CV a bit more.
Theme it a little bit more. Yeah. Yeah.
I would say, because me and you, Harry, we did the same course in our third year, didn't we?
We did.
And we had as you said, the portfolio unit. And I guess that was one of the hard things with the portfolio unit, because it was also very subjective, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was like,
Bane of my life. These subjective marking units.
It's like, yeah, they tell you what's wrong. They won't tell you what to do.
to
They
make it
tell you
better,
what not
yeah.
to do. Ugh.
Yeah. This I always say, and this is why I hated school. Oh, I like school, but I hated my grades from like sixth
I
form.
didn't like school.
Because they were. I did art and tech, was two of my A2s, and they are the most subjective thing ever, and it doesn't really matter. It's like I said, it's all about how you justify things, and also, you could even justify it for art, for example, and then the teacher could just not like the style that you did it in, and you get a bad grade, which is really annoying. We had the exact same thing with those portfolios, and it was one man marking them. So
if he
there's
didn't
always
like
gonna
a
be
specific colour,
Yeah.
then you can't use that colour. If he didn't like the specific view of something, then you can't use that. So,
yeah.
it's so hard to get a
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so that was a tough, but it was also it was quite valuable, I guess. Like
It's a very
putting
good
time into
unit. I wish
learning.
I had it.
I mean, if anything, it's
Yeah.
just more practice into making him. Like, at the end of the
Yeah,
day,
yeah.
whatever you do, you're going to need to do it loads of times to get it as how you probably want it anyway. And it's just like
Portfolios take so
more
long.
hours you can sink
Yeah.
into practicing making portfolios at that point, which is
It's a
really good.
living document, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah.
You could change it every week, couldn't you? Really, like, or every month
Yeah.
at least. You could add something new to it or change it,
Easily.
improve it, as you guys have redone some of your uni projects to make them better, and
Yes.
with the skills you're at now and that. So, I think, yeah, it's just one of those things you can do forever, isn't it? It's always
Yeah, yeah.
changing.
It's always evolving, and that's something else that people don't really know about. Just being the designer is that's something you need to do outside of work. If you're working on things whilst you're working, or even when you're working, and you need to add some of those things into your portfolio. If you ever want to move on, you're going to need to keep that up to date, and that's something that is always going, never ending, pretty much. To like when you're working, you need that portfolio. You need
Yeah.
that thing.
Let's say having
kind of one of the
having a
problems
website is pretty key. Like having a website
Yeah,
makes
that
it
does
so
help.
much easier than those portfolios where if you have to go edit something and you have to like open up your Photoshop and do everything, resave it, re-put it in this folder and whatever. Oh, it's just so much effort.
Recompress it down to one PNG or
Yeah, exactly. It's just
PDF, whatever, yeah.
it's just such a joke. Whereas if you just have a website, I mean, obviously you got to pay for it, which is a couple of £100 a year, whatever. You just send them a link. This is my website. Boom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. Definitely.
Is that everything we want to talk
I
about?
think
guys?
so. I've crossed off everything in front of me. Now all
Yeah, I feel
all that's
like-
left
I
on my
am-
sheet is how to use the camera.
We could talk about that later, mate.
No, it's all right.
I was going to say I'm looking at the time, and it is longer than the other weeks probably
is.
put together.
Yeah,
So is that a good place to end?
Yeah,
it?
I think
I'm
so.
happy.
I
I'm
think
happy
so.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts? Any recommendations for people to do this week?
Anyone to do this week?
Go to
Maybe,
uni.
I'd
to
say
uni.
go to uni when
Yeah.
COVID's over.
Practice-
That's what I'd say.
Yeah.
Practice beer pong.
Practice
Yeah.
Be
beer
really
pong.
unhygienic when COVID is over. It's perfect.
Mhm.
I'd say
to
something.
the
Yeah,
pub,
would be don't
work-life
worry about going
balance.
slightly later.
Oh yeah, that's
Because me and
Mm.
Nick went a bit
yeah.
later.
These two are both ancient compared to me.
Exactly. We went late. It's
Do you
fine.
know the end of next year? Well, next year I'm going to be 30.
Oh my god,
Yeah, end of next year. Yeah. It's mad.
Oh god,
that's crazy.
it is crazy.
Nah, it's all good.
Bucket
It's all
list.
good. Nothing wrong with that.
The bucket list hit 30.
Nailed it.
Smash it. Well, it's time yet.
Okay.
Well,
And on that,
On-
and on
on
that
that-
bombshell.
on that
very
bombshell.
cheery note. Yeah, I
Oh,
think we
dear.
will call it here. So thank you for
Thank you
listening.
very much.
If people made it this far, hopefully you did. Thank you very much, and
See
catch you in the next episode.
one.
Yeah.
Bye.
Catch you on the
Bye-bye.
flip flop.